All right. Hello, everyone. This is the weekly meeting for the Monitor APM group. Dove, welcome back. Hope you had a great experience.
Oh, that was quite the experience. Yeah, I may say that, if any of you think about participating in the CEO Shadow program, I would highly recommend doing so. And if you have questions around that, if you're curious to know how it went, or if you're thinking about it but you don't know, reach out to me. Let's have a coffee chat. And
Great. Are you all well rested now? Long journey back.
Yeah, it was a long journey. I'm a bit sick, unfortunately, but yeah, I'm back and I'm like catching up with so many issues that I don't know where to start.
Great.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I missed you all. Yeah. Also, I saw you, Clement, so I missed you a bit less.
All right. Let's get started with the agenda then. So, Dove, you have the first handful of things.
Yeah, I didn't spoke for 2 weeks, so I'm going to hijack this meeting.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah, so to start with, Clement created a 12.9 planning issue. Thank you, Clement, for doing that. There is an ongoing discussion about what are the things that we think should be in 12.9. So I encourage all of you, so everyone can contribute. So I encourage all of you to go read through that. Put your comments if you think so. If you want to reach out to me privately, you can also do that. Yeah, let's have a conversation there. Matt, you had the question there?
Yeah, so as part of that, Clement created a kind of a thread in the discussion, asking all the front-end people to chime in with issues. So I created one this morning, for the back end, a similar one. So if there's specific things that you want to work on, either front end or back end, just, you can start putting them in those threads. That'll just be a good way for us to start tracking those. Or feel free to just use that issue however you want. Basically we just want to start collecting everyone's ideas. So if you want to put them in those threads, great. If not, somewhere else in that issue will be just as good.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to start like putting some sort of an end goal for this, because we want to make sure the issues are planned in time. So I think that the date for schedule it is it the 4th or the 5th? I don't remember. But let's give it like maybe a week, and we'll start putting on the list of the issues that will be for 12.9, so you can go over it and mark what you think are deliverable and what are not.
Clement, you had the next comment there.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't really have to be verbalized, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, the plan is to have everyone contribute to part of the discussion, so everyone has more visibility to what we're doing. Yeah, the goal is that if we can all contribute, because everyone sees different parts of APM, and if we can all collectively kind of share like what we think is important, we can also influence the direction. Everyone can, participate in that, and I'd like to see more of that, because I think that makes our team stronger. So that's kind of the purpose behind it.
Great, thanks.
Okay, next one is also on me. So I had some conversation with some of the members here in the team. We have new people that join, before the breakdown, afterward, and I went ahead and update some of our tracing, logging, and metrics. I think I just merged it, or if not, it needs an update. So a few things in mind. First of all, to be clear, this is not my page. This is our page. This is the team page, and this is our focus. So if you see something that you don't like, if you think that something is wrong, everything that is set here does not set in stone, go ahead and change it or offer a merge request. and we can collaborate on that. This is number one. Number two, it has all the information about like the basic things. What is tracing? What is logging? What is metrics? What are we working on? Because as I said, there are people here that spend a couple of years in the company and a couple of years in monitoring, and there are people that came without a monitoring background. So it's important that all of us will be aligned on the terminology and the tools that we are using. And so I encourage all of you to read that. Also, Matt and Clement, new people that join the team, make sure to head them to that section that please them have it the part of the reading materials from the handbook. I mean, the handbook can be intimidating, like 3,000 pages, but those are important pages that I think all of us would need to know them and constantly update them, because this is something that we are working on and this is our source of truth. So in every release, we will change it. We will update on what we achieve and what we complete and what we are planning to work on next. Make sense? Great. So APM dashboard survey. This is an example on one of the validation track that I'm doing together with the UX team, the UX research and the UX designer. This was an interesting survey about dashboarding. We ran it throughout the breakdown, so a lot of people contribute. We had like 161 people that answered that survey. So I encourage you to look at the survey results. There are some really meaningful information around that. So take your time, go through that. If you had some insights, I have some of my own, but if you have also some insight, feel free to share them, either in the issue, in Slack, whatever you think is appropriate. Okay, Niraj, you have a question here?
Yeah, so I was looking at the survey results and the question. So one of the questions said, how many applications do you use in production? And 9 responses were none. So I was confused if it meant that they do not have any applications at all, or does it mean they have it in other environments but not in production?
Yeah, probably either they were trolling, or maybe as you said, maybe they have like they have it, they still don't have it in production yet. We may end up talking to people that are still working on creating their application. So I think it makes sense that out of 160 people, 9 or 10 of them are still working on production environment.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting survey. Go over the results. It's really nice. And the next one also for me. So we have the Log Explorer. Thank you all for working on that. I know it was a hard one. And I want to understand what we think should be our next priority. I captured some of I had this question on Slack on our channel, so I captured some of the answers here. So one idea is, and I think it's ready, but maybe we need to work with designs how we disaggregate the UI if Elasticsearch is not installed. So this is like one option. The other one is to support pagination. You said the link is incorrect. Okay, so there is an issue. I can edit. So support pagination is the fact that when we go into the Log Explorer, I think Adrian, even you can explain it a bit better than me, but you have like a range of date. You cannot go beyond that range of date, and we also limit ourselves to only 500 lines. And we want to allow users to conduct an infinite scroll, because usually when you're doing some sort of a investigation, you go through the logs, you don't, you start with a time frame, but then as you scroll, you don't really care about the time frame. You keep going and going, and it doesn't make sense that our customers are hitting the wall now, and they cannot break it. They cannot go beyond that selected time frame. I'm not sure if they expand the time frame, maybe then they can do it, but it's not really intuitive and it's not really user friendly. So I think this is probably one of the most important issues that I would like us to address for the next iteration. If we need to break it down, like in the technical level, then we should go ahead and do that. The next thing is the filter search. Okay, now we are doing filter through the drop-down boxes, and there is already a design issue on how we can do that filter using the search bar, similar to the way we are doing searches and filtering on our planning board. Auto-delete indices, I understand it's in, according to what I was told. I know we're collecting logs from all namespace. Right now, we are not filtering by namespace, so we should do something around that, maybe in the filter search, mainly because there will be a lot of other teams that would like to use this capability, like Defend team. I know they are constantly asking me when we'll have this Log Explorer ready and when can we like put some more requirement, because as we collect the data from all namespaces, there are some data that is important for this team and not only for the application owner, but also the maintainers. So maybe filtering by existing one. Any technical depth that you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, David, just about the namespaces. So the issue is the current view of the logs is filtered by environment. So an environment is the primary way you select your logs. And so an environment is basically a couple cluster namespace. And so it's not really easy to add a dropdown for namespaces in the current view, because you're already filtering by a namespace when you select an environment. And so this is something that has been discussed, and we may be thinking about doing another view of logs in the cluster administration, where in that view, we would have, instead of environments, you could select any namespace, including apps managed by GitLab, or any custom namespace that you have that doesn't map to an environment. So it's a bit tricky to do the filtering by namespace on our current page at the moment.
Yeah, so the question is, you say that when we filter by environment, we're already filtering by namespace. Are we filtering by a single namespace or
Yes.
by only one?
So an environment is a namespace in a cluster. So when you select an environment, you select a cluster and you select a namespace.
The namespace. Okay.
So you can't really have both next to each other, because that doesn't really work. So we either need to change the way logs are currently presented and use namespaces in that view as well. But then it conflicts with other functionalities that use environments. Or we need to do another view, for example, in the cluster administration, where there it would make sense to have a view where you could view any namespace, because you're already administrating the cluster. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I guess I'll start an issue, like a discussion issue.
Yeah.
And see if we can throw some ideas, if either like create a new view, or maybe within the view, like enable something. Anyway, we need to think about it. We'll not solve it now, but I think an issue, it makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Let's discuss it more.
Thanks. Miguel, you're here. I see that he had a bullet item. Not sure he's here. The search by. Okay, so yeah, I put on the discussion in the 12.9 planning issue. And again, I think I verbalize your answer from Slack. You want to add anything else? I mean, 1 and 2 are done. You mentioned the UI designated
yeah,
when, yeah.
Pagination. So for 12.8, we have a refactor that is scheduled because the code is currently in mess and some other people want to use it. So we should make it nice for them. And then the next thing for me is there's performance issues, specifically when you navigate, when you select new environments and new pods. Every query that you do happens in background workers. And so that has like 2-3 seconds of latency every time you change something in the UI, which is not really user-friendly, I think. And so we should probably think about how to improve that. It's not an easy fix, but we should probably discuss it.
Is there any issues for both items?
Not for the performance issue. For the refactoring, yes, there is.
Okay, can you create an issue for
Yes,
I will. For the performance? Yeah. Cool, thank you. Okay, Clement.
Yeah, I was just trying to see, what the, so one of the things from the engineering level, from the director level, it seems like we want to try to improve more dog fooding. So I was just trying to see, in light of that, like maybe that can help position, figure out which features we should prioritize. But yeah, just throwing out some thoughts related to that, since I think we use Kibana for our SREs.
Yes, I actually would love to see how we can dog food this feature, because we definitely need as you can see, there are so many places for us to go and evolve, and it would be nice if we have we know what we want to fix, but after that, it would be nice to get real feedback from real users. And you know who is using Kibana? Which team? Is it the infrastructure team?
Yeah, I think the infrastructure team uses it for debugging things, but I'm not sure specific team or people.
Yeah, the thing is that, we're deploying Elasticsearch to a cluster, and I think that what those teams are doing, and I guess there are several users for Kibana in GitLab. They are actually monitoring logs from external sources, from GitLab itself. So for them starting to use our Log Explorer, we would need to support an external Elasticsearch to connect to that Log Explorer, because I'm not sure that they are, but then maybe I'm wrong. We need to ask them, but I'm not sure that they are using the Elasticsearch that is deployed within a cluster. So this is why it's a bit different. But yeah, I can maybe try to engage a conversation with Anton and see if it makes sense for them to start dogfooding this, if they are monitoring any application that is deployed in cluster.
Just for your reference, I linked in the document a pre-existing issue where we were discussing some dogfooding solutions.
Thank you. I'll go to that. All right. Yeah. Oh, I said that Marian reply. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Cool. Biraj, is the question that you have?
No, this is this is another issue that we have that is related to Log Explorer, which is auto refreshing. I just thought I'd mention it there to see if that is still on the next high priority list, because it is scheduled for 12.8, and if it is not that important right now, then maybe we can push it down a couple of milestones.
So I think, what's the status with the refresh at the current state?
I think it still needs some backend work. And there is a backend merge request as well, I guess, but it hasn't gone in. So once that goes in, then we can start working on the front end.
No, but right now, what's the status today? I mean, in the current state, is it refreshing? Is it not refreshing? Does it require us to refresh the entire page? I
It's
mean,
not
how often?
There
refreshing.
is, yeah, you'd have to just reload the entire page.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I guess it's also it's pretty high, I would say. Also, at least this is my take. So it's good that it's in 12.8. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for raising
Okay.
this. I think I also forgotten about it. So, but we should probably do something for refreshing.
Yeah. So we'll keep it in 12.8 as it is today.
Okay, cool.
Okay, next. So I don't know if you're aware, but there are several events that are related to APM, monitoring, observability as a whole. Monitorama is one example, but there's also KubeCon. I would like to see if we can maybe submit some talks to one of those events. I think this team probably have many issues that we can, many talks that we can submit, considering the way that we touch Elasticsearch, Prometheus, and some experience with Jaeger. So those whole set of tools are actually what the sponsor of those events are looking for, because they're all open source tool, and some of them are like a CNCF project, like Jaeger and Prometheus. So if you have an interesting story to tell, for instance, we just add Elasticsearch into our monitoring tool. I'm pretty sure that we have some anecdotes to tell there. You're using Prometheus, all day, and you're working with Prometheus. Probably have some things to talk about. So I would highly recommend you to take maybe 30 minutes, think about an idea. You can take me into discussion as well. We can brainstorm on that together. And I think it makes more sense that the idea will come from the engineers that are working on the tools and not from the product team. But I would be more than happy to help you, to support. I think it's good first for GitLab, for the team, but also for yourself, to start submitting talks. And maybe if you get selected, you can go and speak. If you are afraid of speaking, I can be there to support you. And if you have an idea and you don't want to do that, talk to me, and I have no problem doing it for you. I don't like doing that, but if you think that you don't want to go up on stage, maybe you can tag team with someone to do it together. So I think it's a huge benefit for the student that has this ability to, or this luxury to actually think about those type of events. So there is an issue that you can add your comments there. And as I mentioned, if you think of something and you want to reach out, send me Slack. We can hop on a call. We can brainstorm together. I can help you do that. I've done several talks in the past, not to this event. So I kind of understand what they are looking for. So yeah, would love to see it happen. Siraj, you want to verbalize the question? Oh, sorry, Clement, you're first. Clement, you there?
Yeah, I don't really need to verbalize.
Okay. Cool. So
Yeah,
you're
mine was
attending.
just.
I'm also attending. Yeah, Diraj?
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I was just going for my bullet point, which is if it is streamed or recorded, it looks like Lumen found some links.
Yeah, it is recorded. Maybe it's also streamed as well. But it's similar to like most of the other events. You know, you submit talks. The probability for you get accepted is not that high. Not because your talks are not good, because there are a lot of submission. Uh, I have to say that they really like the neutral talk, not to talk about the company and what great work we are doing, but talk about the product. This is why I'm saying like for Prometheus and for Jaeger and even for Elasticsearch, those are popular topic. That there is all the time there are issues around, there are talks around those products. So think about an incident you had once with this product, some nice anecdote, and then you can tell the whole story. That hey, I'm working on GitLab. This is what I do. Our team need to do that. I've done this. This was my best practice. This is the experience that I had, and so on and so forth. It's really nice, actually, to go ahead and you can also go through some of the talks to better understand what is the concept of those discussions. Okay, I think I'm done. Only 30
Okay,
minutes.
I will take over. I have one point. I just want to raise everyone's attention. I had a conversation with Gabriel Mazzetto about how APM team stores the dashboard templates. So like the common metrics.yml. Gabriel expressed that we store them in the config/Prometheus directory. Suggests that this file could be modified by a user, when in fact we are not expecting users to modify those files here, but to create them in the projects directory. And during our conversation, we came to the idea that it may be worth to move these files under the lib directory, similar as the CI templates are stored. So it follows the common pattern over the GitLab. And I supplied the link to the issue when discussion happens. And I just invite everyone to chime in and express their opinion.
So if we move those files there, users will not be able to change them. That's the idea.
But yeah, because we're not expecting them to change them, as far as I know. So the common metrics or the system metrics are these default dashboards. And if user wants to modify them, either they duplicate them to the project or create the custom metrics which are stored in the database, but they never touch the files. And in fact, if you want them to allow them to modify those templates files, it would require a lot of more work, because that in that case, such files could get unsynchronized over multiple physical machines when the GitLab could be run in the distributed environment.
Okay. You see any risk of moving those?
From my understanding, I don't see any risk, but if anyone, that's why I'm bringing it up. If anyone see any risk, or maybe I'm just missing something, I would be happy to get some more feedback on that before making such a change.
Okay. Makes sense.
That's all for me. Next would be the Miguel points, but he's not in the call. I don't know who shall verbalize this.
Sure, I can talk. So we can look at the link there. I think this is just a kind of a discussion topic, and Miguel's looking for some feedback. So I don't have a lot of background on it. I don't know if anyone else on the call does.
Yeah, I think this is about how absolute and relative time ranges work. And the daytime figure that we have in the dashboard, it seems to be gaining some traction, as in other teams are also interested. So we're planning to make it a generic component. So for that, we are also thinking about how we can make these components more compatible with scenarios where you'll have to auto refresh or just refresh. So yeah, I think there's issues about how we can deal with relative and absolute time ranges within that component. That's all.
Okay. Does anyone else have topics they want to cover?
Do we want to go over the? So I saw that the planning board for 12.7 still has 5 issues that were not moved. I want to just quickly go over them and try to understand why they're not moved. What's their status?
Right, I think we should go over them. Yeah, I think they weren't moved because they're in workflow verification. I think that's a special case that check, because if they're, that presumes they're already merged and we're just making sure they got into 12.7, but I could be wrong on those. But yeah, it would probably be worth just reviewing those. I can.
Yeah, I see all the workflows indeed in verification.
I can share here in a second. I'm just going to try to hide some of the security issues from my board. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. So yep, there's these 5 issues. So maybe we could just walk through them. So the first one, the self toggle for the self monitoring project.
So that's been merged, everything, front end and back end, and we found a few bugs. So we are working to fix those bugs. The bugs have separate issues open for them. So actually, we could probably close this one. I'll close it.
Okay.
Have we verified it?
Sorry?
Or is it under a feature flag?
It's under a feature
It's
flag.
under feature flag, you know.
Okay.
The bugs are all scheduled to the next iterations. Are like critical bugs or are they spread across like multiple iterations?
I think 2 of them are critical bugs, which we already have MRs up for. I think both of them are in maintainer review. So yeah.
Okay. The next one around snowplow events or custom events.
Yeah, so that one has been merged as well. I'm still waiting for it to get deployed. It's still in verification. And the issue after that is also mine. That is the same situation. It's a doc ticket. It's been merged and I'm waiting for it to get deployed just to verify.
Okay. Are they gonna get into the 12.7 deploy?
Both of them have been merged over a week ago. I don't know if I'm missing something or if the process changed, but I don't see the comment that gets added to the merge request that it says it's deployed to canary or production or development. I don't see that anymore. So
I think
I'm waiting for that.
Sorry. I think 15th, which was last Wednesday, was the last last day that changes went into 12.7.
Can you go ahead and try to test it, like pull the data, because 12.7 is released today.
Yeah, and this got merged on 6th of January or 5th of January. I'm gonna probably just try it on the production and see if it's already in.
Yeah, I think the process changed a little. The bot doesn't add a comment to the MR anymore, but it does post it in like where the pipelines are here. You can see it on my screen. So this one, this is one of the snowplow ones was, you know, prod a week ago, canary staging. So probably has actual dates. So it looks like those were merged. So yeah, be worth testing them out again. That'd be good. That'd be great if they made it into 12.7. That'd be good.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. This next one, I think this is the one that, Horder was working on. It was a bug that he opened and also fixed, so I'm not exactly sure. I can follow up on this one. And then the last one, this was one of the bugs, right, around the self-monitoring project?
Yeah. Yeah, this one actually made it into 12.7. So I'll close this as well.
Okay, good.
And since I was not here for 12.8 planning, anything that I think we should surface, like the amount of issues, I see we have 37 issues for 12.8.
Can I jump in real quick? I forgot to mention this, put in the agenda, but I did want to mention we reorganized the way the board is. So the deliverables are on top and ordered based on priority as best as we can to copy the planning issue. And then we have the concept of filler issues right below this part, which is basically non-deliverables. So things that the team can pick up after they're done with deliverables, or deliverables are blocked. And then below, all the way at the bottom, we have a verification section, so we can, pull things down as things get verified. So it's a little bit easier to see the list. So even though it says 36, it's not like 36 things have to be done this release. It's really everything that is a deliverable that we're saying we're committing to. So hopefully that helps clear things up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. It's a nice idea. Do we want to do that for 12.9 as well?
Yeah, I think we should try to do that. Trying to keep the deliverables to like maybe 20 or something, like a lower number, and hopefully that's what we decide in the planning issue.
Okay, sounds good.
I know we have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Jose, do you want to mention about the multiple metrics alert? That one seemed kind of important. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So basically, for the support for multiple alerts, well, with the help of Ryan, we encountered a race condition on the backend, which pretty much destroys the Prometheus server. It just remains in a constant loop where it will remain updating and it will not update whatever changes to the alerts that you have made. And on the front end, at the very least, I found out that this is becoming more and more frequent to the point that it's blocking this particular feature from being released. If you start adding or deleting metrics at a reasonable pace, alerts, it will completely block the Prometheus server. So I'd say we cannot ship this because even if we have the front end ready, people could encounter this race condition and pretty much destroy their workflow.
So what's the solution for that? Do you have one?
Ryan specified that we need better error handling, or if I recall correctly, I don't know. I'm sure Ryan is on the call. He might have better.
So there was an issue that was created, and I'm trying to advocate for it to be prioritized for 12.8 deliverable to unblock it, but I'm not necessarily sure whether there's a clear path to fixing it.
So do you think maybe we should move it below? I'm talking about the front-end support multiple metrics alert, right? It's like this, like the second from the top. And do you want to put it down in the priority list? Because basically we are blocked from working on it.
Well, basically, if we don't prioritize a fix, that's not going to ship this release.
Okay, do you have a link for this fix? And
Yeah, share on Slack, but let me post it on the Zoom. I mean, I posted on Zoom, I posted on Talk.
I put it in our agenda as well at the bottom there.
okay, so it's not prioritized to any of the release, right? So do you have any estimation for how much time will it take to implement this?
Sorry, no, I since this is whole backend related, I'm not sure what could be the time frame for this.
Also, for the
Okay.
backend issue, looks like Peter posted a comment that may be a possible workaround. I wonder if we should try that and see if we can get around this for now until we have a full fix. I don't know.
That could work too. Do batch alert creations.
Do we have capacity in the backend to assign someone to this? Maybe deprioritize an existing backend deliverable, since this seems more important based on my perception.
Yeah, I could look through the list of the deliverables and see if there's a good one that we could push down a little bit to prioritize this one instead. So yeah, I can take a look at that.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah, look at that and let me know, Matt, what you thought
Okay.
will be the one that we can deprioritize, and maybe we can do the switch.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for bringing
Thanks
that
for
up.
raising that. Yeah.
You.
Okay.
Okay.
No more issues raised.
Well, I just completed a sentence in the document related to using GitLab UI in the application. I noticed that for some elements, namely what I'm working on right now, it's a drop down that has to fill the container that it is in. So varying the width of a drop down. This is not, this behavior is not defined in GitLab UI, but the issue I'm working in presumes that we have one. So fixing issues like this implies also making an issue in GitLab UI and fixing that one and using the solution in the application, or should I make it on the spot? Maybe this is my concern right now, because I saw that usage of GitLab UI is recommended over making quick fixes in the user interface in the application.
Yeah, usually the recommendation is to not have custom styles, especially for components that come from GitLab UI. And if the fix seems like it should be in GitLab UI, then yeah, it should go to GitLab UI, and then we'll just consume that in GitLab app. So yeah, I think, and also the principles are usually from the GitLab design, the pajamas design system. So if there's a component that doesn't match the design system, so it should be fixed in GitLab UI, and then it will automatically reflect on GitLab. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's what that was my opinion also, and I wanted a confirmation. for this. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll just add what I was typing. I think that a lot of it depends on the effort and where we are in the milestone, right? Our highest priority is to ship features, or one of our highest priorities. So we also want to be consistent at the same time. So we try to balance that. Like ideally, it's in GitLab UI, but I'm also okay if we do as a follow up. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, great. Is there anything else that people would like to cover? Going once. All right, sounds good. Well, thanks everyone. Dove, it's good to have you back, and yeah, we'll talk to everyone soon. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye-bye.